Good afternoon. It is October the 5th. I have to go downtown, so we're taking a walk downtown. You can't see me, but I'm kind of dressed up and I'm carrying a bag of books, and I hope I can do this. It's been a busy day. I had to interview another author this morning for the podcast. Now I have to go downtown and be interviewed for something. So that's why I'm combining the walk with that. So I'm wearing dress shoes, which I don't normally walk in, and I'm carrying a very heavy bag of books, and I've got my computer over my shoulder and all of that. So, plus I'm wearing sunglasses, so I may not be able to see the screen. So other than that, it's a perfectly normal walk. About 20 minutes to get down there. Well, I don't want to walk too fast because I don't want to arrive all hot and sweaty. Hello, Mary Lou. And I didn't manage a walk yesterday. I timed it wrong. I thought I would do it late in the day, and then when that fell through, I didn't have any time to do it, so I just wasn't able to. Yesterday was a busy day because Shadowpaw Press, my publishing company, released a new book, Thickwood, which is a historical novel set in post-Second World War Saskatchewan about a young woman who was raised on a horse ranch there, and once her dream is to come back and raise horses on the family ranch. But the family ranch is being swallowed by the PFRA pasture, that's a community pasture. And she's also a baseball player. She's just come back from playing in the All-American Professional Girls Baseball League, better known as A League of Their Own from the movie, and now I think there's a TV series of the same name. So it combines details about women's professional baseball in the late 40s and early 50s and raising horses. And the author is Gail M. Smith, who's a horsewoman herself. And she actually wrote this as her MFA thesis at the University of Saskatchewan. And I encountered it as writer-in-residence at the Saskatoon Public Library. And, I wonder if carrying this under my arm would actually be easier than carrying it as a bag. I think it is. So we'll do that. Carrying it as a package under my arm. We'll try that for a while. The straps of the bag were cutting into my hand too much. Interested to see what they built here. Yeah, so I'm carrying a lot of extra weight, so if I puff a little bit more, that will be why. Sort of like walking with weights today. Getting more exercise, at least. Anyway, so I did that yesterday, and that took a lot of time, and I did get some writing on my own done, which was good, and then I had an hour-long podcast interview, not for my podcast, but I was interviewed for a podcast with 3 other writers of the Future podcast. And this morning, I was going to do this walk, I was going to do a walk along the creek first thing this morning, and got all set up and realized that I hadn't charged the gimbal, and it was just about dead and would not have lasted the walk. So I decided to do this instead, and just walk downtown, walk back later, and combine the two like I sometimes do. It's quite chilly today. I think it's only going to about 14 or something for a high, and we're supposed to get our first frost tonight. It's supposed to drop to -4 or -2, depending on which forecast you listen to tonight. So that'll be enough to start killing the flowers if it doesn't do them in tonight. That will be the beginning of the process. I'm going to go back and grab the straps again. Carrying it under my arm is actually harder. Alright, we'll do it that way. Probably carrying 20 pounds of books in my left hand, so it does pull at you. Well, I'm not going to make that light now. So we will go this way. being interviewed about being a publications editor for the Saskatchewan Geological Society, which would be an interesting job to take on. It would make all the publishing stuff have to fit in around the cracks, which could be difficult in my own writing, but I could drop some stuff that I've done that I'm not that interested in and just focus on things I want to do, for one thing, because I'd have a regular paycheck, which I haven't had now for 30 years, except for short periods of time. So but I don't know how likely I am to get it. We'll see. Anyway, that's where I'm headed. They say it's going to be a 3-hour interview. I have a hard time picturing that. If it is, well, that's when I'll be heading home afterwards. Even if it isn't, I'll probably be about that long before I head back, because I'll probably stay downtown to write if I find myself with an hour or so. I did bring my computer just to add that extra bit of weight. The funny thing is, since the beginning of the pandemic, I've lost 35 pounds. So at the beginning of the pandemic, walking without any weight, or before the pandemic, walking without any weight, I would have weighed as much as I weigh now while carrying all this weight. I hit this light just about right for crossing, so we'll cross now. I like being on this side because then you can cross these streets with alacrity because they're all one way, and you can tell you're not going to get run over. These books keep banging into my leg in an unfortunate fashion, however. I don't want to walk too fast because I don't want to be sweaty when I get there.
Well, it can't be harder than walking over here.
I'll pause and adjust again here. Ow. And they have sharp edges, those books, so when they hit you, it's very unpleasant. I'll walk up McIntyre here. I want to stay in the shade as much as I can, so I stay as cool as possible. It is quite cool, but walking, you can work up a sweat pretty easily. And I don't want to arrive sweaty. So the fiction thing I'm working on continues to be Changers, that's the working title, which is my Shape Changers story. Not quite werewolves, has some similarities. Had a teenage girl who discovers she's one of these things that she didn't even know existed, and a teenage boy who is descended from the line of hunting knights that track and kill these things. Except, of course, they like each other, so that causes complications. It's a love story? Not exactly. There is some romantic element to it, I guess, but I haven't gotten that far. I've rewritten the first 120 pages about 5 times, stalling, and I think I finally got it figured out. So once I get through this current rewrite of those first 120 pages, which I'm almost done, I'll finally be able to get back to writing fresh. I really want to get it done so I can move on to something else. But I don't want to leave this hanging. I've been working on it for a long time. It was supposed to be published by a company called Cheesine, but they went out of business. They never quite got around to giving me a contract. We just had an agreement, but I kept asking for a contract and they never gave me one, which is just as well, because then I didn't have to worry about getting out of that contract once they went under. We'll cross here if nobody's coming, but somebody is, so we will go this way. Now nobody's coming, so we will cross over. My dress shoes aren't nearly as comfortable to walk in as my runners either. So all in all, this is a fairly slightly uncomfortable walk, I admit. But at least I'm doing it. For all my faithful fans out there, my 500 and, last time I looked, 43 subscribers. Most of whom never see it, of course, but that's the number of subscribers. Or at least they don't see it on a regular basis. They might tune in once in a while. Nobody watches, or almost nobody watches an entire walk. Average viewing time is usually 7 or 8 minutes. Which is good to know because I feel like I'm repeating myself so much, but of course most people only see small pieces of any one walk. So mostly nobody's, see it's windy and the leaves blowing there, very autumny. There even formed drifts around where the cars were parked. So I'm not really repeating myself because most people only hear it, bits of this. Oh, that is getting very unpleasant carrying these books. Maybe I could give them to them when I get there. No, don't want to do that. They're the only copies I have in some cases. I've got a copy of the Saskatchewan Mining Association history I wrote, and the Saskatchewan Land Surveyors Association history, and the Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists history, a couple other things, and some of the stuff that I published through Shadowpaw Press, just as examples of my ability to get things published. I don't quite know how to feel about this job. As I said, it would certainly complicate my writing and publishing side of things, time-wise, but it would also be very useful from a making money. Since mostly I've slowly lost money over the years, dipping into savings kind of thing briefly here and there along the way. So if I weren't married to someone with a good job, my wife is an engineer, I would be far more concerned about my retirement prospects. Not that I expect to retire, but if I get to the point where I can't write, I don't have a lot of resources. I wouldn't have a lot of resources of my own to fall back on. And I probably would have gotten a full-time job quite some time ago if I didn't have the support of my spouse. Most writers have full-time jobs, little known fact, and they write on the side. And even though I say I've been a full-time writer for 30 years, there's been various contract positions along the way that were full-time, so this wouldn't be that different from that. And more interesting than any, because I am very interested in the sciences, and geology is one of those that I've always had an interest in. I used to collect rocks when I was a kid. Not in any very systematic fashion, but if I saw a pretty rock, I'd pick it up. So I guess that makes me a collector. We'll go up this way. What's that? It's around 10 after 1. When I first moved to Regina, this is where the Saskatchewan Writers Guild was, but it's been there for a long time. And Surveyors building over there, that old one, Hotel Saskatchewan, where I often go. Going a little bit further than that today, not much, about a block. Of course, over here is the Chateau Frontenac, which I really like the looks of. And next to it is my other favorite old apartment building, the Balfour. This is First Baptist coming up on my right. Knox Metropolitan United Church over there, where I have performed many a time and been to concerts and things. Never actually gone to a church service there, but it's used a lot for concerts. I haven't been at First Baptist nearly as often, although as I recall, it's not a bad place for a concert either. I'm going to change hands. Try to save my fingers a little bit there. Going down this way since the light is not exactly with us. There's the front of First Baptist. So up next here is the Land Titles Building, which is currently home to the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame, among other things. That's what these banners in front point out. They were open only by appointment, but I don't know if it looks like maybe they're publicly open again now. Possibly not. Hard to say. And then of course you get the Hotel Saskatchewan here, where I often come to write. It looks like I'll be able to cross over here, which is good. Victoria Park. See the Sask Power building, which is mostly under scaffolding for this year. I've been walking. There's the hotel. I used to bring my daughter to this playground all the time. Not for a while, since she's 21 now. Hotel Saskatchewan with the clock on the corner. Ow! I hit myself with those books again, and it really hurt that time. This is the federal government building. Kind of a 30s Art Deco modern kind of thing. Still a lot of work going on in front of the power building there. It's a one-way street, so if nobody's coming, you can cross, which we will. I should have put it in a more solid bag so the pointy bits don't stick out as much. Since I keep hitting myself with it. See all the work they're doing over there. Golf's is an old, long-time steakhouse over there, and then beside it is Crave, which used to be the Assiniboia Club, a men's club that my father-in-law used to belong to. And there's Brood Awakening, where I often come to write as well in the mornings. And this is Hamilton, and that's the building I'm headed to, not the old one, but the one next to it. Not too hot. A little warm, but not too bad. Alright, so I will stop up here and put this away before I go inside. Headed to the 11th floor. So, thanks for walking with me, and I'll be back for the walk home later on. Good afternoon. It's still October 5th. This is part 2 of my walk downtown and home. Yeah, so here I am, heading home now. If you were with me earlier, let me just get this pointed in the right direction. If you were with me earlier, I walked down here because I had an interview, which went well, I guess. Wish I was more excited about the possibility I might get a good paying job. It's a weird thing, but it actually left me feeling depressed, the possibility I might actually get the job. Which, that's just me, I guess. But it went well, and then I stopped here at the Hotel Saskatchewan and did a little bit of riding, and now I'm heading home. I have another 20 minutes to add to the first 20 minutes of part 1 of this walk. So there will probably be a certain amount of repetition, like there's the Land Titles building again, right over there. Oh, hello, whoever just said hello. I'm looking. Paul. Hi, Paul. I'm still carrying 20 pounds of books in my right hand and my computer. So, more than a little bit overloaded from my usual walking circumstances, but all the same. So again, there's Victoria Avenue and Victoria Park. Canadian Red Cross here. Quite a few people may be walking home right about now. It is after 4:30, so we're getting into the heading home from work time frame. If I actually ended up with the job I interviewed for, I would actually be making this walk probably every day. This might turn into a walking commuter thing where I simply did my walks as I walk to and from work, except on weekends. It's just one of the reasons I'm not terribly thrilled about the idea that I might actually get a job. Most people really want jobs. I don't, really. I like being a freelancer. I would like to continue being a freelancer. But it would be interesting work and it would pay well, so what am I complaining about? A parking lot we're walking through here. One of the things I'm carrying is the history book of the Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists. When I did that book, they were located in this building here. But that they've since moved to a new building in Harbor Landing, which I've also walked by a few times. Let's go down the alley just because I haven't gone down the alley recently. I didn't go down the alley on the way here, so trying to keep it fresh and exciting. This way you see the back of the apartment building and the back of the apartment building here. Neither one of which is, I admit, particularly exciting. Can't go down, or can I? Can't really go down that way. Somewhere along here we'll find a way between the buildings and go that way. Oh dear, I think we can go this way. I go past this rather massive truck. I don't believe I've ever walked along this little path, so let's take this. another apartment building. And now the front of the apartment building you just saw the back of. That's how exciting this walk is. This one here. Now, is this a regular apartment building or is it a assisted living apartment building? I'm not sure. Wait till I see a sign somewhere along here. It's called the Heritage. It doesn't tell you a lot, but it could be more of a retirement apartment building than a general apartment building. Probably built in the 60s, I would guess, looking at it. Thanks. I try to be interesting. And I do work on books all the time. Like, as I said, published a book yesterday with Shadowpaw Press called Thickwood. Have a book coming out next week, which is the Shapers of Worlds Volume 3 anthology, the third anthology I've kickstarted featuring authors who are guests on my podcast, The World Shaper. And my own new novel, The Tangled Stars, comes out on October 18th. In ebook and audiobook from Daw Books. Sworn Street Drugs here. I've often bought things in there. And the old apartment buildings down there. So, always something coming up for sure. And I have a grant to write a book this fall that I got to get onto, which is a nonfiction book, which also draws on the interviews from the World Shapers and will be about the creative process and, offering not exactly advice, just sort of examples of how other authors. This used to be an art gallery. Other authors deal with the process of writing, which is always interesting to other writers. I'm going to switch hands because, boy, is this bag of books heavy. As I've often pointed out, this is called the transition area because some of these are still residences, but some of them are not. And there's also apartment buildings in here. Some of what look like residences are actually apartment buildings. I think that might still be a residence, but it's hard to be sure. Probably is. If it's a business, it usually has a sign identifying the business. There's a few brand new ones. That's a particularly an interesting example. Not an improvement over whatever old house was there. And there's some old houses that have rather odd renovations, like that yellow one, which somehow must have lost some windows, but that's a really blank entryway. I presume it's a couple of apartments now. And this is a very old one here, as I often point out. Tell from the brickwork. And there's a sign on it that says it's a doctor's office, but I don't know if it actually is anymore. We'll cross here because that car that's coming has a stop sign, and I like to make them honor it when I can, because people do tend to run stop signs down here. That's a very orange apartment building over there. I've been in this house. It was on the Davin School home tour a while ago. There's this little fountain out front that is sometimes fountaining, but isn't at the moment. Actually, I ate supper up here last week at the Fireside Bistro. It's pretty good. Fairly expensive, but it was nice to eat out that night here. Offices and that, I think. I don't think they're apartments. I always think that looks like a pig snout on the front of that building. Possibly not what they were going for, but that's my impression. Ah, yes, this is a snow route. We're not quite there yet, but it is going to frost tonight, so we're getting closer all the time. I have a rehearsal tonight. Regina Lyric Musical Theatre, which is celebrating its 45th anniversary. We're doing a sort of a retrospective one night only concert, and among the things I'll be singing is My Heart Is So Full of You, I believe it's called, which is from The Most Happy Fella. I played the lead role in The Most Happy Fella back in 1997, the year we got married, so 25 years ago, because we just celebrated our silver anniversary. So I'm rehearsing that tonight. And also Night Waltz from A Little Night Music, which we did in 99, I think, which was when we moved from Dark Hall to the University Theatre. And many people still think our production of A Little Night Music was one of the prettiest and best that we did. I was just in the chorus, but it was it's a great show, and I enjoyed being in it. So rehearsing 2 numbers tonight. The show itself is December 1st, I believe, which is a Thursday, I think. One show only. I presume they honked at me because they knew me and not because they were annoyed that I was daring to cross the road in front of them. I don't know why, but this bag of books is actually touching the ground as I walk, which it didn't do when I walked downtown, so I don't know what changed. See, the sun is getting much lower, as it does in the evenings. Lots of people walking home about this time. I would normally walk faster than this, but I am weighed down. Not with cares, but with books. Still going to have to stand here and wait for this light, it looks like. I was hoping it would change about the time I got here, but hard to arrange. Oh, well, somebody still thinks it's warm enough for a convertible, even if it is going to frost tonight. There's where we buy gas all the time, if that interests you. And this is Albert Street, which is the main north-south street in Regina. That's our signal. They'll cut through the gas station. Petro can, if you're wondering why there's a maple leaf on it. That's an eyeglass store. My reading glasses, my high-end, expensive reading glasses came from there. My cheap reading glasses came from Shoppers Drug Mart, but Leopold's Height. I didn't eat there, but I went there to write yesterday. This is one of the old the second SaskTel building, Saskatchewan Government Telephones. This is the original Saskatchewan Government Telephones building here, which now belongs to the Royal Saskatchewan Museum. Full of laboratories and fossils and scientist types. I've mentioned a few times, it was very funny a few years ago when there was news about this fossil in amber that made international news, and I realized that it was in this building right here, not far from my house. Yes, the Artesian is a great performance space. I performed there myself. Also had a book launch in the basement. They have a nice lounge down there with a little bar, and it's a great place for a book launch. Until maybe they still are, though. They've been very, very slow about lifting mask and vaccination requirements, which makes them not a place I will use for a book launch until that goes away. So whenever they decide to ease up on that, I'll be happy to go back there again for a book launch. When I was on the board of Golden Apple Theatre, that's where we did a lot of our performances. This is originally First Church of Christ scientist, Mary Baker Eddy, Science and Health with a Key to the Scriptures. John Livingston Seagull, that's what I know about Christian Science. It's now the Unitarian Center, and built the same year as our house, actually, 1926, I believe. They use it for the Fringe Festival as a performance space. I haven't been in there in years. It does have a nice Greco-Roman interior or exterior there. That apartment building there, I kind of used in a story that I've got out looking for a publisher. Well, it's at a publisher who's interested, but whether they're going to take it or not, I'm still waiting to find out. I hope they do. Middle grade book, fantasy called Fireboy. I don't want to publish it myself. I certainly can. I have the capability and the knowledge, but I don't want to. They seemed very interested in it, but it's been a long time now since I sent them the additional information they requested, so I'm wondering what's going on there. Little mini free library there. We're on Angus Crescent now, which is the crescent we live on, so almost home. I'll be glad to lay my burdens down. I will look forward to doing my next walk without carrying 25 pounds of books in one hand. By my rough estimate, that must be what this weighs. Plus, as I said, it's scraping on the ground, and it wasn't when I walked downtown. I don't know why it suddenly is now. Unless the straps stretched. Maybe it's just the way I put the books in. They're sagging lower. Also, of course, I'll switch hands again. The sidewalk here slopes downward a little bit, and that's probably why, carrying it in my right hand, it's scraping because the ground's a little higher on that side. Named one of North America's best old house neighborhoods a few years ago by some sort of magazine. Most of the old houses are still here, and they were mostly built in the 20s. Like ours was built in 26, so coming up on 100 years old. The oldest house that I know of around here was built about 1914, so well over 100 years old already. And mostly they're well kept up. That one's obviously been recently restuccoed, I would think. Ours needs it. But we're still working on building a deck and a small extension in the backyard. And then maybe we'll look at finally polishing up the exterior and new windows and all that sometime. Another reason I should really want this new good paying job I might get. It's hard to explain, but getting a really good paying job feels like a failure to me, since my goal was always to not have to work for anybody but myself. So that's not really logical. The money would be great. The work would be interesting. It's less than 20 minutes from here to there on foot. It's not like it's a long commute. And yet, if I don't get it, I will be disappointed. But if I do get it, I may also be disappointed. So I'm not sure there's any way to win in this situation. Okay. well, I'll keep you posted anyway. That's it for today. I'll combine this with the first one for the recorded version, so it'll be about less than 40 minutes, it looks like, total. Thanks for walking with me, and I will be back tomorrow.